This is the Realme P3 Ultra, and the performance of this phone really surprised me. Why? Because the P3 Ultra has the MediaTek Dimensity 8350 inside it, and it's actually a very capable processor. In fact, when we started testing it for performance, we realized that it's actually more powerful than the 7S Gen 3 and the 7 Gen 3 that's used in most phones in this price category, which is obviously surprising. So we decided to do like a full-fledged performance testing for you before the phone actually launches. If you're here for the first time, I'm Ershad. You're watching Trakin Tech English, your destination for detailed, incisive gadget reviews. Basically, what you get is an 8-core CPU, and it's based on a 4nm fabrication process node from TSMC. There are 4 Cortex A715s, of which one is clocked at 3.35 GHz and 3 others are clocked at 3.2 GHz. And then there are 4 Cortex A510s which are clocked at 2.2 GHz. Now, the architecture is very similar to that of the 7 Gen 3 and the 7S Gen 3, but the clock speeds are definitely higher, as you can tell. So does that make the P3 Ultra more powerful? Of course it does, because in Antutu we got a score of over 1.43 million, which is 66% more powerful than the 7 Gen 3 and the 7S Gen 3. Not just Antutu, even on Geekbench, the Dimensity 8350 actually scores higher than both the 7 Gen 3 and the 7S Gen 3. Even in our 40 to 30-minute CPU throttle test, the CPU stability was 85%, which is fantastic. So basically, with respect to CPU performance, the 8350 is a step up from the 7 Gen 3 and the 7S Gen 3. You know what we also want to step up is our subscriber count. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and if you like the kind of content that we make. Now, to test the gaming capabilities of the P3 Ultra, we actually started off with the 3D Mark Wildlife Stress Test. This basically has a sequence that runs 20 times back to back, and we actually got a GPU stability of 97%, which is fantastic. And you can take a look at the best loop score, which is above 10,000, and we also got a peak FPS of 60 FPS, which is very good. What's also important to note is that the 8350 also supports ray tracing, which is not available on the 7 Gen 3 or the 7S Gen 3. And when we ran the Solar Bay ray tracing test, we got about 20 FPS, which is not too bad. But fair disclaimer here, we haven't tested it out with the 8S Gen 3 or the 7 Plus Gen 3. We'll do that when the phone launches, so stay tuned for that, and of course subscribe to the channel. Of course, for real world testing, we actually played graphically intensive games like Genshin Impact and Wuthering Waves, and the phone doesn't break a sweat. In fact, in Genshin Impact, we got an average of 59.2 FPS at the highest graphics, and the frame rate set to 60 FPS, which is really good. But what's more impressive is the fact that the temperatures didn't cross 37 degrees. This is also possible because you get a large vapor cooling chamber inside. It's a 6050mm square vapor cooling chamber that you have in the P3 Ultra. Even in Wuthering Waves, we got an average of 52 FPS with the peak temperatures reaching 42 degrees Celsius. Now, considering this game is even more taxing and the phone doesn't touch 45 degrees when we tested it, it's actually pretty good. What Realme claims is that you can also play BGMI at 90 FPS, which is basically smooth and extreme plus graphics, and you can get a stable 85 to 90 FPS after 3 hours of gaming as well. Now, obviously we didn't play for 3 hours at a stretch, but we played for about 30 minutes and we got an average FPS of 86.2, and the temps also reached only 37.2 degrees Celsius. Of course, Realme also has the GT Boost mode, which is really nice because you get features like AI motion control, which basically enhances your gyroscope experience, and AI touch control, which improves your touch response. Now, in fact, in the GT Boost mode, what you can do is select individual cores of the chipset and tune that as well. So when you're looking at gaming performance in this price range, the P3 Ultra is definitely one of the top performers out there, and definitely better than any phone that has 7 Gen 3 or the 7S Gen 3. Now, while the CPU and GPU performance are great on the P3 Ultra, how's the daily performance? It's fantastic too. With Realme UI 6 running in the P3 Ultra, you actually get parallel animations, and the animations are so smooth. Take a look at the animations in comparison to the Nord CE4 and the iQOO Z9S Pro. Of course, the P3 Ultra's animations are smoother and cleaner. The P3 Ultra also comes with either 8 or 12 GB of LPDDR5X RAM type and 128 or 256 GB of UFS 3.1 storage. Yes, UFS 4.0 would have been a good addition, but considering that you get UFS 2.2 on most phones, including one that was launched recently, nothing. I think I'll take 3.1 over that. In fact, with the P3 Ultra, you also get 4K 60 FPS video recording, which is a rarity in this price range. Even with AI, Realme doesn't hesitate, because you get features like AI Smart Loop, AI Writer, AI Recording Summary, all of which I have discussed in detail in our Realme UI 6 video. If you haven't watched that yet, a card should pop up, go check it out. By the way, the P3 Ultra also supports Circle to Search, which is one of my favorite features, of course. Network performance was solid because we get support for 15 5G bands. Jio and Airtel work exceptionally well, no problem there. You get support for Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.4, but there is no NFC. NFC should have been there, if you ask me. Another highlight of the P3 Ultra is inside this slim, very slim chassis, you actually get a 6000 mAh battery. And you get 80-watt Superbook charging as well, so you can expect 0 to 100% charge in about 55 minutes. So clearly, the performance testing of the P3 Ultra reveals that this one is going to be a performance beast, and there are strong rumors that the phone will be priced around 27,000 rupees, which seems like a decent price for this kind of performance. So if it launches at that 27,000 price range, it's going to be an irresistible deal for gamers, that's for sure. What do you think of the performance of the P3 Ultra? Let me know in the comments. And what kind of videos would you like to see? Let us know that as well. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.